Hello and welcome to this week's episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jordan Samuel Fleming, chairman of Smartphone and overall real estate enthusiast, and now AI enthusiast. Now, today is another one of those special episodes where I dive into something I've done recently. No guests, just me today, so my apologies for that. But I did this for a reason, because this week I've just finished up a 3-day Voice Accelerator challenge. We had over 230 people attend the challenge, people who were really keen to understand how they can fit voice AI into their business, right? And so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about some of the things we covered in the Voice Agent challenge. I wanted to talk about some of the questions and the trends I sort of saw people worried about, and give a little deep dive into this, because I think a lot of people are curious as to, how can voice AI really, really contribute to their business. But a lot of people are worried as well. They're worried about them saying the wrong thing, or turning off a seller, or lying, or losing trust, and all that sort of thing. And so that was basically the point of the challenge, was to bring people in to the ecosystem of agents that we've developed, that people can hire through Smartphone, but also to broadly get them into a new mindset around voice agents and to answer some of those questions. So day one was all about mindset. And people kind of sometimes are like, wow, why did you start an AI challenge with mindset? Well, because actually there's a change in mindset that you really need to do as an operator, as a business owner, if you're going to understand how you can get the most out of AI in general, in my opinion, but specifically agentic AI, right? Agents that can do things, not just LLMs and accelerators, but agents that can take action and own responsible outcomes. That's a very different game, and that requires a different mindset. And so really, when I dove into this first day and I sort of designed the 3 days, I knew that I wanted to start off with a heavy mindset shift, because what I'm seeing trend-wise is most people are still stuck in the AI as software, AI as a pretty tool. What tool should I use? What's the newest tool? What's the latest, greatest tool? That kind of mindset. And, they're not wrong. There's a lot of great tools out there. And there's a lot of tools that actually can do a lot of very powerful things. But when you see them as a kind of a funky tool to collect and use, you're missing the underlying element of where power needs to be applied in your business. Because it's one thing to have a funky tool that does great things. It's another to know, how are you going to bring this into your business to get the absolute best outcome? How's this going to make a real impact in my business? That's a very different thing. And it requires a change of mindset. When you think about agents as bits of software, you think about software as something I can turn on and off, and also as software as something that empowers me to be quicker, or my team to do more. And that's, again, a different thing than an agent that can take responsibility for an outcome. When you get to the true value of where these AI voice agents are, for instance, they're not just in answering the phone. They're about answering the phone and pushing the conversation forward. If you just answer the phone and you can't do anything, can't build that trust, can't build that next step in the seller relationship, then you're not contributing. You're an answering service. You almost might as well be a voicemail at that point. But when you're talking about very highly trained agents that know a job that they have to accomplish and have a clear path to victory, that's a very different thing. Think about it right now. Forget AI for a second. One of the things we talked about on day one, think about how you hire people right now. Nobody just decides to hire a bunch of people for no reason. Nobody just goes, well, I just think I have to hire some people. No, you hire people for a role. You hire people. I'm hiring an acquisitions manager, and I want them to be trained in that job. I want them to know what they're doing, and I want them to sort of hit the ground running in my business because they've got the experience, they've got the know-how. Fantastic, right? That's how we hire people. Why would we hire AI agents any differently? And that's one of the differences that we have inside smartphone. In smartphone, we have a smart agent recruitment center where you can look at different roles that you can recruit for. And that's done on purpose, because what we realized is if we were going to make agents that were really going to be able to make an impact on your business, they would have to be able to work inside your business as a trained role. It's where the power is. It's a different mindset. That's not a place where most people are right now. Most people are still in that tool mindset. But when you start to think of agents as part of your labor infrastructure, your labor workforce, and not as part of your technical stack, that changes the game completely. And it points you in a direction where you can genuinely have a role that works 24/7 and accomplishes a job for you in the right ways, and then escalates that job forward into your organization. That's very different. That's productivity in a way that a shiny bit of software isn't. That's 24/7 productivity in a way that whatever the latest, greatest tool that people are talking about really isn't. That tool side of things is more superficial. Doesn't mean that those tools aren't amazing and can't be absolutely leveraged, but it's a different type of leverage when you're talking about a role that can be performed instead of a fancy bit of technology that can be used, turned on and turned off. So day one was all about that mindset shift, was all about understanding why, when you start to look at how to onboard one of our smart agents, for instance, into your business, you really have to look at your organizational structure and fit the agent in where they're going to do the most work. Now, the good news is, with the roles that we have right now in the recruitment center, and certainly on the accelerator, the challenge, we were aiming the challenge at just one of our roles. The audience was real estate investors, and we aimed, everybody got a chance to onboard one of our amazing inbound acquisition intake agents. So these are specialist agents who understand and are fully trained in real estate acquisitions, real estate investment processes, and different real estate tools and methodologies and exit strategies, etc. These are fully trained real estate agents, and they're trained to take a call and qualify a lead, right? So someone calls in, they've got a property to sell. Maybe they got a leaflet from you. Maybe they were cold called. Maybe they saw one of your signs. They're calling in, and we want an agent that's 24/7 going to answer the phone right away and be able to build up that first bit of trust. Now, why does it matter that the calls get answered right away? Well, you guys know more, as well as anybody, that motivation dies. And if you do not answer the phone, you are far less likely to connect to that lead. They'll have moved on. Their urgency will have cooled by the time you do. Answering the call 24/7, because motivation works 24/7. Just because you work 9 to 5 doesn't mean someone's not sitting there at 11 p.m. angry and frustrated and worried and concerned and stressed out and wants some help. But it's 11 p.m. You've gone to bed, or you're out with dinner with your partner, and the call goes to voicemail. It's 6 to 1 whether they actually leave a voicemail, first of all. a lot of people won't. They'll have moved on by the time you finally get back to them. That's why having an agent 24/7 answering the call right away is so important. But it's only important if they can answer that call and move that conversation forward, like the role that they are. And that's why, with for instance, that agent, that role that we've trained and that we were giving people as part of this challenge, that intake agent knows how to have a conversation, establish motivation, to find out property details, look at property conditioning, and ask open questions to find out more information. That agent understands how to find timeline and urgency, and also to find information that you want them to find specifically, like maybe occupancy, or if there's an HOA, or how much of a mortgage they have, or if they're behind on their mortgage, right? Those are all things that when you put them together, just like a normal role would be trained, when our agents can do that, they can successfully move a call forward. They can move that conversation forward. And that's what you want. But it only works when you're thinking about that agent as a skilled and trained agent that understands their role, and that way their role can be slotted into your organization. That's where power comes in. Otherwise, it's a funky bit of software. That was really what day one was all about. Now, day two, we dove into more of the fears and concerns that people have. People are nervous about entrusting AI with the source of their income, right? Like, sellers are calling in, and I don't want to lose deals because AI has decided to say something dumb, or because they've glitched, or because people are pissed off because they're not getting the help they need, or because someone feels like they're talking to a robot and they decide to never trust you again, etc. Those are all legitimate fears. So we took them one by one. We sort of talked them through.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt this amazing conversation, but I wanted to make sure you knew that Smartphone, the only phone system built for real estate investors, connects to the best-in-class real estate investing CRMs. And because, as it's my show and I am co-founder and chairman of Smartphone, I got some great deals for you. Click the link and take advantage of 5,000 minutes free calling with Smartphone, the only phone system built for real estate investors. Click and call. Close more leads. Back to the show.
One of the first big ones that people always have, and we discussed it on the Voice Accelerator challenge. One of the first big fears is, are people going to be angry about speaking with AI? So I talked about that. And, we've got a lot of data now because we're watching people use our agents. We're seeing the sort of response rates. We're seeing the success they're having. But we've also all used these agents, and we've trained them, and we used other people's agents. We've called businesses that use agents, and we understand that both with numbers and kind of with personal anecdotal evidence. And what I have found to date so far with Smartphone's customers is people don't mind speaking to AI that much if the conversation is pushing forward and getting them what they need. Right? If I'm getting what I need out of this conversation, I'm stressed, I have a house, I need to sell it, you're helping guide me down that process. Well, guess what? I'm okay speaking with AI, presuming that the performance is good enough to make me want to speak with them. It's if I'm calling them and the performance is flawless, but they're not helping me move forward. Well, what's the point then? If all they can do is answer the phone and say, yo, great, well, why don't I get you on a call with someone else? Well, okay, but who are you? Like, what, you don't know anything about my property. You don't know anything about me or my situation. You're just immediately saying, hey, well, let me schedule a call. Well, what's going on here, right? Like, it's a natural thing. When we interact with technology and that technology helps us, then we're all for it. If that technology hurts us or creates friction, then we're not. I gave this example on the challenge. A good and bad example. So I was using the Hilton app a couple weeks ago when I was go to check into my hotel room, and I'm very allergic to feathers. So I was using the Hilton app and trying to text with their AI agent and being like, "Hey, I don't want any feathers, please." Couldn't help me at all. Ultimately, after a couple minutes, had to connect me with the front desk so I could talk to someone. Well, that was annoying. That pissed me off. That was technology that gave me friction. Not a good experience. Now, I contrast this. The other day, I had to call the Booking.com help center because a booking I'd done got canceled on me, and I had to get a refund. And I got to tell you, they have a voice agent that they identify as a voice agent, and they said, like, let me help you. They were flawless. They were phenomenally good. And that, I was perfectly happy speaking with a voice agent because they were doing what I needed. They were helping me get my issue resolved. They did it timely and 24/7. And they answered pretty quickly as well because they can handle more volume. Now that didn't make me feel angry at all. So the bottom line is people don't mind speaking with AI if that conversation is going and proceeding and pushing them forward to the resolution they need. Now, a twin part of this question and concern is, are you trying to fool people? Or, what happens if they suddenly find out that they're AI they didn't realize before? Well, we never try and fool people. We always start every new conversation letting them know that it'll be recorded and that we use AI to manage and run calls. We don't hide it. And by the way, inside of our smart agents, the smart agents can never lie about being AI. If someone asks them, they have to absolutely say yes. And they usually do a great job of turning it to their advantage. They say, yeah, I am AI, but I'm here to help you get the help you need as quickly as possible. And I think we've done that today. But if you want to speak to a human, I can organize that now, right? Those trust elements get broken only when people feel you're trying to trick them. So I have seen systems out there that will not say they're AI, that will not admit to it, that will pretend they're people. Bad, stupid, loss of trust immediately. Those people will never want to work with you again. You have lied to them, and they're going to put that, even if the agent did it and you didn't instruct the agent to, so if they haven't had the right guardrails put into them, either way, that trust is eroded from your business. They're never going to trust you again. They're never going to trust your business again. People feel bad when they feel like they're being taken advantage, when they feel like they're having the wool pulled over their eyes. So don't be transparent. Be transparent and say, listen, yeah, we want to make sure we can help you 24/7 and get the next step scheduled and pushed forward. And so we use voice AI for this, and they've done a great job. How can I help you? People lose trust when they feel that you are trying to take advantage of them. Part of this question is, do they sound human? Does the conversation sound natural? Well, that does depend on which agents you're using. Our agents are built on a telecom first infrastructure. So we have all of the expertise over a decade of being a telecoms company. We've got the infrastructure to scale voice infinitely. We already handle thousands and thousands of concurrent calls. We have all of that expertise, and that makes a big difference. Our agents have very, very low latency. They have natural sounding conversations, and they react very quickly. They have instant access to memory that they can weave into the conversation, all because we're built off of this robust AI-powered telecom infrastructure. And some aren't, right? And that's something I said to them in the group is like, guys, evaluate the agents. Not some people were looking at other agents. We've had people who use enterprise agents come over to us and say, can we just build this with you? Your performance is better. And so I would say, take a look at the, at the real world application when you start looking at AI agents. Demos are fine, but you need to have the confidence that in a real situation, the technology is going to hold up and the agents are going to perform. Usually when I'm speaking to someone, I just give them a phone number and I say, you call the agent yourself. Here's one of my agents, call them. And I have yet to have someone come back and say, wow, that was crappy. No, everybody comes back and goes, wow, that was amazing. But to me, that's one of the best validation points I can do. It's like, I'm not gonna give you a demo, man. Here, call this agent. They're live right now. Make the call. Speak to them. You have to be really careful about agent structures that work well in demos but can't work well in real-time execution in your real business. That's something, and particularly for those agents that are built without any telecoms infrastructure or experience, there is a worry about that. Not all of them, some of them are good, but a lot of them are built very software first instead of telecoms first. But voice is still a telecoms product, and you have to know how to scale that because voice is hard. Right? Voice, you cannot have a weird lag of 5 seconds while the agent figures out what to do. 5 seconds is an eternity on a phone call. Imagine this for a second, right? 5 seconds. I ask a question. Hey, can you let me know, when you guys would be able to come out and take a look at my house? Sure, of course I can. Right? How brutal was that? It's horrible. So you have to really, really be very careful about that. The sounding human, by the way, voice AI is the worst it'll ever be today. It gets better every day. The conversations are so good at this point. But it's not just about sounding human. It's about what they say. You have to have them trained, and they have to understand the outcome that they're going for, because we're at the point now where just sounding good, that's table stakes. These agents should sound good. They should have good conversations. The question is, are they having accurate and good conversations to drive your conversation forward? That's a lot harder. And the role-based element really comes into play with that, right? And like absolutely comes into play. Another fear that people have is hallucinations are lying, right? It's fair. I mean, I gave this example. One of the reasons you have to uh, really create boundaries for agents and hard stops, and you have to really put them into a box of what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, and how they need to behave. You have to do that because otherwise, you can imagine an agent. I mean, if you've ever used ChatGPT, there was a model a little while back that was so sycophantic in its praise that like I finally I had to create prompts to say stop telling me I'm a genius, stop telling me that this is the greatest thing you've ever seen, like just stop. It's so easy to please you and make you feel good. Well, imagine if you had an agent that didn't have the right boundaries in place, didn't have the right um rules to abide by, and no-go areas or warning points. And instead, when the seller said, "Hey, man, you think you can give me 800,000 for this house?" The agent, wanting to be nice and wanting to make you feel better, good, said, "Yeah, we can do that." Like, huh? As everybody has a heart attack. And so, hallucinations are increasingly less of a problem if the agents are built properly and designed properly and have the right infrastructure, the right knowledge base, and all that. Then hallucinations aren't really as much of a problem anymore. But you have to make sure that the people, the agents that you're looking at have been developed with those boundaries in place. They should be skilled and role-based, and they need to have those boundaries in place. For instance, our intake agents that we're doing as part of the Voice Accelerator Challenge, our agents, those agents are not allowed to make an offer. If they're asked to, they'll say, "Listen, I'm sorry, I can't make you an offer. That's going to be one of my colleagues that does that after they look at all the property details." Because it's not that AI can't negotiate or do a great job. Of course they can, but you have to have the boundaries in place, or you are putting yourself at massive risk, right? A massive, massive risk. There is such a rush so often to just run and throw all your stuff into AI and be like, "Look, I don't want to go behind. I need to go, go, go." Yeah, you do, but you're also putting yourself at risk if you don't do it in a strategic and considered way, right? It is a massively important part of this whole ecosystem and whole approach. If you're gonna create the right mindset around this, to go back to day one, Yes, you need to see them as labor inside of your organization, but you also have to provide them with the correct roles, responsibilities, and guidance around this. Or how are you expecting them to figure it out? If you're not giving explicit boundaries and explicit role boundaries and explicit escalation patterns, how are they supposed to know? I mean, we see this with people. If we don't give them the right role training and we don't give them the right understanding of what their role is, then you have people who are confused. I'm not really sure. Is this my thing or your thing? And it breaks down across the organization. But if you can really look at this and break down that role and understand where that role fits into your organization, then you have the ability to have an agent that works 24/7 that is absolutely bounded by the right rules, won't do the things that you don't want them to do, will do the things you do want them to do, and can operate 24/7 to push yourself forward. But you got to have the mindset and you got to have the structures in place. Mindset and structures. So the Accelerator Challenge was a phenomenal event. We had a lot of great people in the VIP rooms asking questions, engaging. We had a lot of awesome people in the Facebook group. There's a huge opportunity here. If you've got a business and you get any inbound calls, I want you to think to yourself, what's every inbound call that I miss costing me? There's an opportunity cost, particularly if you're in a high sales business like real estate. You miss a call and it goes to voicemail, baby. You are throwing money on the table and leaving it there. So part of what we did in this challenge, and the reason we chose that real estate acquisitions intake agent as the first agent that we'd help people get up live, is because that immediately makes sure that in your real estate business, you never ever have to lose another call again. Every single call will be answered. No more missed calls. No more, problems around inbound connections and losing leads that way. That's a really important part of this whole game. And, understanding just how much you have to gain when every call is answered will immediately make you then think, well, why the hell don't I have one of these up right now? Why don't I have an agent working 24/7, making sure that every single call is handled no matter what? Once you start looking at it through that prism, then you immediately just go down that road because it's the only logical output. Missing a call never has to happen again because we now have role-based trained AI agents that understand their role, understand their place in your business, can execute the role, and at the end point, can push the conversation forward enough so that you guys can take the next step. That is where we are now. And that requires a mindset shift, and that requires you to be comfortable enough with the voice agents to be able to implement them properly as part of your labor organization and not just as a funky bit of tech that you've heard about and thought you might as well try it. So I know we're going to be running this challenge again. It was a really fun challenge. We learned a lot. It was the first time doing it. I know we're going to be running the challenge again. And I will definitely push it out to anybody who watches or listens to the podcast so that you can join next time if you didn't. It is definitely if you've never looked at voice AI agents properly and you're in real estate, you are losing out because you're missing calls and calls are going unanswered when you could be answering them and qualifying a lead. So hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, hit me up on YouTube, hit me up at smartphone.io. Because if you're in real estate, you should never ever have another voicemail again. You should have an agent that is answering your calls 24/7. It gives you the best chance to convert, the best chance not to lose leads. And at this point, if they're well qualified and role-based like ours, you know that you can build them into your organizational structure and they're going to produce for you 24/7, 365 days a year with no gaps, with no days off, with no holidays, with no days where they're pissed off with the world, or days where they can't be bothered and their performance slips. It's just pure consistency. So hit me up, and I'm happy to guide you guys down this journey. It's something I'm really passionate about. And I love to share it with people. If voice has interested you and voice AI agents interest you, hit me up and I'll help you get one off the ground. Next week, we should be back with another guest episode. And then we got a couple more amazing episodes coming up with some fabulous guests. So until next episode, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching wherever you're getting this podcast. And my name's Jordan, and I'm the host of That Real Estate Tech Guy. Cheerio.
Thanks for listening to another amazing episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. Head over to thatrealestatetechguy.com to check out all episodes and get special discounts on tons of awesome real estate technology platforms.